A lot has been said and written and spoken about the number 13 in past ages. And there's a sort of superstition going on with this number, and that is because it is an occult number and very satanic. And on this podcast, I want to show you and I want to explain to you the plain and simple truth of why 13 hostages were released by Hamas recently, and the plain and simple truth about the evil number 13 and its important connection with Judaism. Please join me. The New Radio Church of God and the Plain and Simple Truth Ministries present the Messenger of the Lord with Apostle Jewsih, preaching the gospel of the good news of the kingdom of God and informing you about world events in the light of Bible prophecy and preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Apostle Jewsih. The number 13 is considered an unlucky number in some countries. The end of the Mayan calendar's 13th Bactun was superstitiously feared as a harbinger of the apocalyptic 2012 phenomenon. Fear of the number 13 has a specifically recognized phobia, triskaidekaphobia, a word first recorded in 1911. The superstitious sufferers of triskaidekaphobia try to avoid bad luck by keeping away from anything numbered or labeled 13. As a result, companies and manufacturers use another way of numbering or labeling their products to avoid the number, with hotels and tall buildings being conspicuous examples of this, like the 13th floor. It is also considered unlucky to have 13 guests sitting at a table. Friday the 13th has been considered an unlucky day, principally due to a very dark event in history. On Friday 13 October 1307, the Masonic King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of the Knight Templars, the precursors of the Jesuits, and most of the knights were tortured and killed. The last Passover. At Jesus Christ's last Passover meal, there were 13 people around the table counting Christ and the 12 apostles. Some believe this is unlucky because one of those 13, Judas Iscariot, was the betrayer of Jesus Christ. From the 1890s, a number of English language sources relate the unlucky 13 to an idea that at the last Passover, Judas, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, was the 13th to sit at the table. Let's talk about full moons. A year with 13 full moons instead of 12 posed problems for the monks in charge of the calendars. This was considered a very unfortunate and unlucky omen and circumstance, especially by the monks who had charge of the calendar of 13 months for that year, and it upset the regular arrangement of church festivals. For this reason, 13 also came to be considered an unlucky bad number. However, a typical century has about 37 years that have 13 full moons, compared to 63 years with 12 full months, and typically every third or fourth year has 13 full moons. A suppressed lunar cult. In ancient cultures, the number 13 represented femininity and also the moon goddess Allah, the identity of the main deity of Islam, hence their symbol of a crescent moon. Because it corresponded to the number of lunar or menstrual cycles in a year, 13 times 28 equals 364 days. The theory is that as the solar calendar triumphed over the lunar, the number 13 became anathema, that is, accursed. Hammurabi's Code. There is a myth that the earliest reference to 13 being unlucky or evil is in the Babylonian Code of Hammurabi, circa 1780 BC. where the 13th law is said to be omitted. In fact, the original Code of Hammurabi has no numeration. The translation by L.W. King in 1910, edited by Richard Hooker, omitted this one article. If the seller have gone to his fate, or have died, the purchaser shall recover damages in said case fivefold from the estate of the seller. Other more current translations of the Code of Hammurabi, for example the translation by Robert Francis Harper, include the 13th article. In religious culture, according to Islam, in Shia, 13 signifies the 13th day of the month of Rajab, the lunar calendar, which is the birth of Imam Ali. 13 also is a total of 1 prophet and 12 Shia imams in the Islamic school of thought. Catholicism. The apparitions of the Virgin of Fatima in 1917 were claimed to occur on the 13th day of 6 consecutive months. In Catholic devotional practice, the number 13 is also associated with Saint Anthony of Padua, since his feast day falls on June 13. A traditional devotion called the 13 Tuesdays of St. Anthony involves praying to the saint every Tuesday over a period of 13 weeks. Another devotion of St. Anthony's chaplet consists of 13 decades of 3 beads each. Sikhism. According to famous Sakhi evidence of the story of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, when he was an accountant at a town of Sultanpur Lodhai, he was distributing groceries to people. When he gave groceries to the 13th person, he stopped because in Gurmukhi and Hindi, the word 13 is called Tera, which means yours. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji kept saying, yours, 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 remembering his God. People reported to the emperor that Guru Nanak Dev Ji was giving out free food to the people. When treasures were checked, there was more money than before. Judaism. In Judaism, 13 signifies the age at which a boy matures and becomes a bar mitzvah, or a full member of the Jewish faith, and counts as a member of the minyan. The number of the principles of the Jewish faith according to their false prophet, Rabbi Maimonides, according to rabbinic tradition and a commentary on the Torah, the Old Testament of the Bible, God has 13 attributes of mercy. Zoroastrianism. Since the beginning of the Nowruz tradition, the 13th day of each new Iranian year is called Sizdah Bedar, a festival dedicated to pranks and spending time outdoors. Confucianism. The 13 classics is considered to be a part of the Chinese classics. Aztec mythology. According to Aztec mythology, the 13 heavens were formed by the gods from the head of Cipatli during creation. Wicca. A common tradition in the religion of Wicca, which is witchcraft and sorcery, holds that the number of members for a coven is ideally 13, since they consider this the number of their god Lucifer, the devil. This is why, if you have noticed, most occultists and satanic secret societies and orders, when creating a shooting or random killing event as a human sacrifice, they usually make it to be of 13 victims. And when they need you to sign some sort of satanic pact with the devil, it must be done in blood and on a Friday the 13th. Other. In the occult Mayan Tzolk'in calendar, trecenas mark cycles of 13-day periods. The pyramids are also set up in 9 steps divided into 7 days and 6 nights, 13 days total. In the standard 52-card deck of playing cards, which happen to be used also for divination, there are 4 suits, each of 13 ranks. A baker's dozen, devil's dozen, long dozen or long measure is 13, one more than a standard dozen. The 13th loaf is called the vantage loaf because it is to be considered advantageous overall to get 13 loaves for the price of 12. In Arthurian legend, which was recorded in medieval text, King Arthur is resting in Avalon with the 12 greatest knights of the Round Table, totaling 13, and will return when his country is in peril. The 13 treasures of Britain are a series of magical items listed in late medieval texts. Also in Britain, the popular PBS channel was Channel 13. The 13 postures of Tai Chi are 13 postures consisting of 8 gates and 5 steps, which are considered to be of fundamental importance in the practice of Tai Chi. In astronomy and astrology, there are 13 star constellations in the zodiac or horoscope, including Ophiuchus. These, by the way, really represent 13 fallen stars or fallen angels or demons who have been given power by Satan the devil to rule your life and destiny through the occult signs of the zodiac, unless God in his infinite mercy calls you and frees you from this demonic spiritual grip, bondage, and curse. In Judaism, 13 signifies the age at which a boy matures and becomes a bar mitzvah, that is, a full member of the Jewish faith, and counts as a member of Minyan. I had to repeat this because it's important that you know why the Jews think about the 13 like that. In a tarot card deck, 13 is a card of death, usually picturing the pale horse with its rider. Now, the number 13 pops up a lot in Judaism in some very important ways. For example, one of the most successful special forces of the DFI is one called Sheret 13. For example, when Israel was established in 1948, the first provisional government had 13 members because its founders said they needed all the luck they could get, besides the fact that they were all Zionist Jews who were heavily involved in Masonic ties to the Jesuits and in Kabbalism, or the Kabbalah. So what exactly does 13 get its significance in Judaism? Well, you just have to look at all the times it pops up. The significance of 13 in Judaism, that is, according to Jewish tradition, there are 13 attributes of Hashem, mercy, appears in Exodus after we were forgiven for the whole golden calf incident. There are 13 principles of faith according to Maimonides. As I said before, they're false prophet. 13 is the age a Jewish male becomes obligated to follow Jewish law. It's not like they have to do it voluntarily. They're obligated. The age at which a bar mitzvah is performed. Israel or Jacob had 13 children, which means that the so-called state of Israel is only one of the 12 tribes, Judah, the Jews. According to Jewish Kabbalistic gematria, or Jewish numerology, the words Ahava, or love, and Echad, unity, add up to 13. There are a number of 13 days of Jan Tubs, or Jewish festival days, in a year in the diaspora. There are 13 months in a leap year on the Hebrew calendar. Adar, too, or the 13th month in a leap year, and is considered extra lucky because the month of Adar, according to tradition, is a lucky month, quote unquote. 13th of Adar, or Adar 2 in leap years, is a fast of Esther, according to rabbinic Jewish tradition. Again, the Special Israeli Forces unit, Shayeret 13, is considered to be the equivalent of the U.S. Navy SEALs in the DFI.
Apostle Yeshua, a man with a charming, dynamic, endearing, and fantastic personality, has written his latest and last book, The Legendary Life of Ernest Yeshurun Hero, an autobiography, bringing the reader an amazing, astounding, astonishing, bewildering, dumbfounding, incredible, moving, shocking, and surprising story about his legendary life, antics, and eccentricities in his very own autobiography and memoirs. Very candid and fascinating story indeed. The book is full of delightful, entertaining, and fun memories and unique experiences of his existence since early childhood till now. In this book, Apostle Yeshurun shares with the reader a genuine and distinct story, a delightful story of triumphs, accomplishments, milestones, and the ups and downs of his life. A life that is noteworthy for the books of history and even the silver screen. Legendary life of Ernest Yeshurun Hero. You better get your copy today at barnesandnoble.com and lulu.com.
The 13 phases or strategies of the DFI. I cannot make public by orders from the Israeli Defense Forces and by their spokesman Admiral Daniel Hagari what these actually are, but I can take the cat out of the bag, so to speak, and tell you that informative sources have revealed that they have concocted a very ingenious plan to flood all the tunnels of Hamas in Gaza with seawater very soon. And I have been seeing that on YouTube last night, as a matter of fact. This goes hand in hand with the following biblical prophecy. A prophecy against Philistia or Palestine for our day now. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines, that is the Palestinians, modern day Palestinians, before the Pharaoh, which is a representative of a very great and powerful leader like Netanyahu in our days, smote or destroy Gaza. Thus saith the Lord, behold, waters from the sea rise up out of the north of Gaza, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city, and them that dwell therein. Then the men of Hamas shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl. And by the way, not only are they pumping seawater into the tunnels and caves and all that, but God is helping them with heavy rain and inundating them as well, and flooding them just like he has been flooding Saudi Arabia and the Arab Emirates and everything that is Arab recently. At the noise of the stamping of the hoofs or Merkava tanks, wheels of the DFI, of his strong horses, that is armored infantry vehicles, at the rushing of his chariots, the tanks, and at the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because of the day that cometh soon to spoil all the Philistines, again, the Palestinians of our day, and to cut off or destroy and kill from Tyrus and Sidon, modern day Lebanon, every Hezbollah helper of Hamas that remaineth. For the Lord will spoil the Philistine, that is the Palestinians, the remnant of the country of Qatar, modern day Gaza Strip. Boldness is come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off or destroyed with the remnant of their body. How long wilt thou cut thyself, O thou iron sword of the Lord? How long will it be ere thou be quiet, or in a pause? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. How can it be quiet, or there be a ceasefire? Seeing the Lord hath given it, the DFI, a charge to fight against those terrorists in Ashkelon and against the Hamas divers by the seashore. There hath he appointed it, and this is according to Jeremiah 47, verses 1 through 7. My friends, the deceptive practices of the Arab terrorist extremist Islamic groups are obvious, you know. And if I were Netanyahu, I wouldn't trust them one bit. Not one bit. Why? Because they work for the Jesuits, who are liars and deceitful, you know, Satanists. That's what they are. And God hates these people. God will destroy all of the Arab extremist Islamic terrorist groups out there. God will do it. Mark my words. So until next time, this is Apostle Yeshurun saying, goodbye, friends.
You have heard the messenger of the Lord with Apostle Jeshurun, preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. For more information on this podcast and this program, you may write us by email at Jeshurun, Apostle of the Lord, at AOL.com. Again, that is Yeshurun, Yeshurun, Apostle of the Lord, at AOL.com. This podcast was sponsored by the New Radio Church of God and the Plain and Simple Truth Ministries, and by the free will offerings, tithes, and donations of those who are listeners of this podcast and are supporters of this great work of God. The preceding program has been a Plain and Simple Truth Ministries presentation.
Just before I leave, I want to add to this podcast that you need to have your eyes widely open, because all of the events that are taking place from now on until December are going to be shocking, and Jesus Christ will return then.